What is going on, everyone? We are here with another episode of the Spotlight series hosted by yours truly, ACK. Y'all know the drill at this point. We're up over 70, 80 different episodes. We're just having a blast, having everyone on the show. You never know what kind of artists you're going to see on here, what kind of live music you're going to hear. So I appreciate y'all staying tuned and just enjoying the ride with me. And today I have Walter Coughlin here. Walter, what's going on, man? How are you?
Howdy, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
And not too bad, not too bad at all. Just enjoying talking to artists, enjoying talking about music and just hearing your story. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Just hearing your story through music and kind of what you're doing in the music business.
Fair enough. Yeah, there's nothing better than that, man.
Exactly. So kind of really just starting off with the first question is always the basic of basics. And it really just sets up kind of the whole interview and kind of really just sets up your whole story is where did singing and playing really kind of come about for you? Because I know for some people it starts at such an early age. When they were born, they start humming nursery rhymes, and then by
Right.
like 6 or 7 they start stringing that guitar or they start playing that
Mhm.
piano that their parents bought them.
Mhm.
But then I always like to compare it to someone like myself who only really started songwriting and producing and this
Mhm.
whole podcast thing back in 2018. So that was only 4 years ago.
Right,
But
right.
so how did really singing and playing kind of come about for you?
Yeah, so it started early for me. My mom's side of the family is a very musical like it's my music side of the family. My mom was singing in choir when I was a kid and everything like that. We go to church on Sundays, go see her. Um I learned piano, or I went to like piano lessons when I was a kid as well. So, I'd walk to those with my mom. Um I had this like angry Russian lady back in the day. It was pretty funny. I lost my first tooth at a piano lesson, actually. That's pretty funny.
Oh,
But
okay.
anyway, doesn't matter. But yeah, so I picked up the guitar in like probably fifth grade, something like that. And having like that piano kind of like background, if you could say that, it really helps like kind of translate into like any other instrument, which is
Exactly.
nice. I took a little bit of piano in high school as well, but yeah, I've really like enjoyed playing the guitar. I played it in church. Like I went to Catholic school in Dallas, John Paul II. And I would play like during like our Wednesday like school mass all the time, and then I do that in middle school as well. But yeah, so I kind of just did that. I'm a hockey player as well, so it's kind of
Yep.
always been like um, my priority. Hockey has been.
Yep.
So music has always been something that I've very much enjoyed, and but it's always kind of been like a preferred hobby for me. But yeah, so now I'm in college. I go to Lake Forest College up here and in Chicago, and I'm a senior now. And this past summer, I moved down to Austin, and it was kind of like my first real like dive into music. And it's pretty late, but like I've always kind of done little shows here and there, like growing up, whatever. But like this was like my first summer to really like dive into it and really like pursue it, and I had a blast. And some really great things came out of it, and yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm just looking forward to the rest of it.
Exactly. No, and that's awesome. I mean, it's just, and I mean, it's never too late to get into music. Like, I mean, you said it was starting to get too late, but I mean, it never too late to get into music.
Exactly. No, 100%.
But
100%.
it's just, I mean, and it was hard to get you on here just because you have that Dallas background with the Dallas Stars and everything. I do have to throw that in there just because I'm a
Yeah.
Caps. I'm a Caps fan at heart.
Yeah. All day. All day.
But
So,
no, it's super cool to really just hear how people start in music and really how they just come about, because you can listen to a mainstream artist like Morgan Wallen, Luke Combs, Travis Tritt, Garth Brooks, and just be like, oh, cool, like great song. But like
right.
sometimes it's just really cool to hear the background on how they started, how they picked up their first guitar, how they started with the piano, how they
Yeah.
became singers and stuff like that. And then obviously mentioning some of those artists is talking about inspirations. And that's kind of getting into the next question here is, I mean, I'm a country boy at heart and I grew up on that 90s, early 2000s country. And then I always have to say is Chris Daughtry, one of my all-time favorite artists and a huge inspiration for me when I really started songwriting and stuff like that. Is who are some inspirations that kind of you look up to, and just who are some artists that you kind of really just listen to when you need inspiration when it comes to songwriting and singing?
Yeah. Yeah. So, my like I'd say the first band that like really got me into like playing and singing, was Mumford and Sons.
Okay.
Uh, I like heard, I think Little Lion Man was the first song I heard, and I was like, oh my God, like what is this? Like this is super cool. Just kind of like introduced me to like kind of like that folkier side.
Yeah.
It's pretty, it's not necessarily folk, but it's like kind of their own version of it. Right now, I'd say Tyler Childers all time, right, is my favorite. I look up to that guy a lot. There's a lot of just like very small. I've got some buddies that I even look up to. I'm just like, oh my gosh, you guys are like, there's these two guys. This one kid I grew up with, like super young, and like kind of didn't see him until like we were older. But he's in this band called Briscoe and Austin, and they are just bar none. They're super cool. I really really enjoy them. They've got this like super interesting like indie folk Americana sound, and anyway, it's super awesome. But yeah, I'd say them, honestly. Tyler Childers, Zach Bryan, huge for me. Shaky Graves is another one for me.
Okay.
But yeah, it kind of all started with that Mumford and Sons inspiration. But yeah, I mean, I like a bunch of stuff, man. I mean, like,
no,
honestly,
exactly.
Like, I'm naming a bunch of folk right now, but like I get down with like super heavy EDM, super hard rock, classic rock, like just whatever it is, like I love it. But,
no, exactly. And it's always hard to ask that question on who inspirations are, because like you could just sit here for hours and name like we could just sit here all day and start listing artists back and forth and just
100%.
talking about them. But 100%. I mean, especially like Tyler Childers and Zach Bryan and stuff like that, I mean, huge songwriters. Like they're their storytelling aspect is such like what draws people in, and it's what draws me in and everything. And that's what I'm big on, is when artists have that passion for telling a story and really visualizing what's going on in that story, and just how they start from the beginning and go all the way to the end, just saying, here's the book, now you guys can listen and read to it. And it's super cool. So this kind of leads into the third question, and I always do have to quote Garrett Walker, who was on the show. He said this quote perfectly: is the songwriting process is like a puzzle. Whether you have 500 or 1,000 pieces and you have all these pieces scattered on the table, you're trying to figure out what fits where. Eventually you start putting the border together. Eventually you start putting the middle together, and you figure out, okay, this piece goes there, that piece goes there. And by the end, you have this full masterpiece. You have this full thing, and be like, hey, look what I just did. Look what I just wrote. And that's what the songwriting process is like. And I mean, as a songwriter, and every artist knows as a songwriter, there is no rhyme or reason to the process. But I've heard, obviously, you've shared a couple of originals with me and stuff like that when we've been talking over the last few weeks. So just kind of, what is your creative process like when it comes to writing a song?
Yeah, I mean, it typically is pretty much the same for me, but sometimes it varies. I don't know. I love writing stuff down. I've got like a bunch of notes in my phone. I've got like 3 spirals. I got, to my left is just all these strewn pieces of paper everywhere. But yeah, I typically just like, I'll just be sitting, messing around with the guitar, and I'll just kind of hear something I play, and I'm like, oh, all right, let's kind of work with that. And sometimes it's garbage. Sometimes it's the same thing I wrote yesterday, but like, I always try and write it down. And like, cause I usually, like, if I don't like I'll write a song and I'm like, oh, this is trash, but I could use like, a couple lines out of that.
Exactly.
Something else. But yeah, I usually start with like a chord progression, and then kind of vibe with that, figure out what I'm doing, just kind of like, just whatever words come out, they come out. And that's pretty honestly kind of how it works for me. Like, it's fairly like, I just kind of let it flow, and if it comes out, it comes out. And I typically kind of work with whatever I'm like starting with. I mean, I'll make changes as I go, but like, I don't know. I feel like there's something to that. Like, the first kind of thing you feel from a chord progression or whatever it is it just feels natural. So like, I kind of just go with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I'll sit down and just kind of start saying lyrics out, and if they work, they work, and if not, then
back to the drawing board.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have a very organized one, I'll let you know. But I mean, I just, whatever comes natural, then that's my song.
Yeah. No, and I mean, that's awesome. I mean, it's there is no rhyme or reason to the
Right.
songwriting process.
Right.
And I was just talking on another interview like a couple weeks ago, and we were saying like if there was a book on how to songwrite, then everyone would do it.
Yeah. Exactly.
There are no
Exactly.
rules. There
Right.
is no wrong or right way to do
Right.
it. And I
Exactly.
mean, some people start with like the chord progressions and stuff like that, and some people start with getting the pen to the paper and then go to the chord progression. So it's always just so cool to see how people kind of do their different ways and different techniques and stuff like that. It's cool for other artists to learn that, and just for
Right.
fans and stuff to learn how the whole process actually works, and
Right.
not just like we don't just go to bed and wake up and say, oh, here's a new song that I just came up with. Like it takes a lot of
Right.
time and it's a lot of hard work, as you know,
Right.
sometimes.
100%. And like at this point, I'm not like a producing artist yet.
Mhm.
Obviously, I, aspire to be, but but yeah, I mean, I am now that I'm like sort of kind of thinking of that stuff, like when I want to record a song or something like that, like there's just a whole nother aspect to that, because you're just like, what else could what do I add to this song to, fill it out? Because right now it's just me and a guitar. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's so many other aspects that goes into even that too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, when you're trying to write songs and when you're trying to share with people on like TikTok, on Instagram, and stuff like that, it's hard
Right.
because there's millions and millions of artists out there trying to make names for themselves.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
it's hard to get your name out there just to be like, hey, this is me, this is who I am.
Right.
So this kind of leads into my fourth question, and it's always my favorite because it's always the hardest question. And that's why I always say thank God I'm the one asking it and not
Yeah.
actually answering, because
Yeah.
I don't know if I could answer this question like fully 100%, and there
Right.
is never a wrong or right answer to it. But with all these other artists out there trying to make names for themselves, what makes you compared to all these other artists, and what can we kind of take away from your vocal styles and your
Right.
songwriting that other artists don't have?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that, anything I have someone else doesn't have, because I mean, I'm very humbled by everyone I see. I mean, like I said, I moved to Austin this summer, and I was just was like starstruck by like so many people, just like
Yeah.
random people. Like I'd go to these open mics and I'm just like, oh my God, like this guy is sick. Like, oh, like how am I doing this? But no, I mean, I think songwriting wise for me, yeah, I'm really trying to tell a story that is unique to my life. So I mean, obviously, my experiences are different than others.
Yeah.
So I think, that helps just keeping, my songwriting genuine and unique is like to me, I think kind of helps separate me. Um, I don't know. I mean, I think I've heard I have a fairly unique voice. Like I don't, I wouldn't say it's for better or for worse, but I just I've kind of just picked up my own kind of sound,
Yeah.
and I think that helps me, especially on like TikTok or whatever, because I like when I'm doing covers or on videos, I don't really like doing it like how the song is supposed to go. And like some people don't like that, like, and that's fine. I get that. But I just like to kind of put my own like little flair on whatever song I'm singing, and it might not even sound like the same at all, but like I think it's interesting when you're doing covers, especially, to help, separate yourself, just to do it, a little bit differently than everybody else. Like I just did that Jersey Giant song that everyone's loving right now, but I did very similar, but not, exactly the same. I threw a couple
Exactly.
runs and whatever on the ends of lines, and I just like doing that because I think it helps, like you're saying, separate from all the other amazing artists that are out there. So
Yeah. No, and I mean, honestly, that's perfect what you just said, because I mean, I love when artists do stuff like that, when they take a cover and they tweak it to like kind of just make it a little different, like to separate who you are compared to that other
right.
artist. Because
Mhm.
sometimes if you just do the original the way it's supposed to go, then you get compared to that artist and you're like,
Right.
oh, he sounds like him now. And like that's
Exactly.
what it is. But it's
Exactly.
the artistry that you have, like what you just said, is you tweak it a little bit to make it your own and to make it your style, because that's who you are and that's what you
Mhm.
want to do and that's what you want people to take away. So I mean, that's just definitely one of the perfect answers to have for that question. And when, I mean, like you said, there is no one that really does sound like you can put yourself in a playlist with a million different artists, and I could put that thing on shuffle, and then when your song comes on, it's like, oh hey, I know who that is because he does something different. And that's what it's all about, is to just help yourself stand out and make yourself
Right.
different and have that artistry, which you clearly have.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah.
No, of course. So kind of getting to the fifth and final question before we hear some live music from you, is just looking towards the future, or what are some of your short-term and long-term goals as an artist, and what else can we kind of expect down the road from you?
Yeah. So my biggest goal that I've just been kind of dragging my feet with financially I really want to get some music out. I mean, one of my goals this summer was to meet some producers and get some music out. But I mean, Austin's a hustling city for music, and I don't want to be that guy that's like, yo, can I get this for free, please? You just like produce this. But I met some really cool people, and met some really good connections. It's just expensive, man. I mean, it really is. I mean, and I want to be able to support, a growing producer as well. So like, I don't want to be like that cheap guy that's like, yo, could you just like skim a couple bucks? But yeah, so I really, really, like, short term and long term, just want to continue writing music and getting to the point where I can produce that at a high level, because I don't want to put anything out until I know it's like exactly how I want it.
Exactly.
And I have a really good idea of a couple of the songs that I've currently written. I have a really good idea of how I want them to sound, and sometimes I get a little bit too in my head about it, but like kind of putting a little bit too much into it. But I don't know. I mean, I think that's the fun part, just kind of like experimenting with a bunch of different stuff. But and I'm sure you knew that, or that.
No, absolutely. And I mean, that's how it is. But I mean, obviously, from the stuff that you've shared with me, I mean, obviously, I'm a huge fan of you already. And I mean, we've been talking about that for a while. Just your vocals, your songwriting, and everything is just top notch. And I can't wait to hear some live music from you. Can't wait to see what you do and just what stuff comes for you. I mean, because then eventually at some point down the road, we got to get together and we got to co-write
Yeah,
and
100%.
get something out there for sure. I mean, because I just feel like the two of us put together, we can bang something out easily.
100%. Yeah, no, I mean, I got some stuff, some traveling going on here pretty soon, but I've like I said, I'm playing college hockey right now, so I'm fairly stacked at the moment, which stinks because I'm on the cusp of this very exciting new stuff, but I have a responsibility to hold a commitment for my team, and
Exactly.
however, I have some interesting stuff coming up in the next month here. I'm going to Nashville for a little bit,
Okay.
for a little like television show kind of audition thing.
All right.
And then so I'm excited for that and see how that goes. And then once I graduate, I'm going to get my major, my degree, and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I really want to go full bore on this, and I think Austin this summer was a little teaser for that. But I think I'm either going to move back to Austin or maybe Nashville, and just kind of really go at it, give it a couple. I don't even know. I mean, honestly, as long as I'm happy, I'm just gonna keep doing it. Cause like I was so poor this summer, man. I lived off I lived off like legitimately after rent, like $500 a month, like a month. And I was just like, oh my God, dude. I couldn't like if I had $4, I'm like, oh, let's get some ramen, let's go.
No,
But
but I mean, that's
yeah,
awesome, man. And I mean, honestly, I just can't wait to see what else comes for you, like I said. And I'm on the ride with you. And
I
I mean,
appreciate it.
obviously, you'll definitely relate to this quote is, I mean, if you do end up moving to Austin or you do end up moving to Nashville to pursue the music, it's what makes you happy. But at the end of the day, you just got to think about it. It's you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And that's a quote that I always live by. And I mean, I think I told you, I just went down to Nashville last week.
Yeah,
And it was just such an experience to go down there, see all the singer songwriters, and just get that whole vibe in. It's an awesome thing to do. And just, again, I can't wait to see what else comes for you.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm very excited. Very
Yeah.
excited.
No, so that kind of concludes all the questions I got for you.
Okay.
So kind of getting to the good part of the interview is
Yeah.
hearing something from you. what I'll do is I'll put myself on mute if you want to let the people know what song you're doing, kind of how that song came about. And other than that, man, the floor is going to be yours.
All right, sweet. Yeah, sorry. Let me just grab this guitar real quick.
No, you're good. No worries.
Make sure this is all set for you guys. Yeah, so I'm gonna play a song. All right. I'm gonna play a song called Through the Window. And actually, I'm gonna play a song called Sunflower. I'm gonna throw a variable. But anyway, yeah, this song I wrote it about a little special lady I had. And I wrote it in Austin this summer, and I don't know, just kind of like I wanted a 2-chord song, and I really liked this F major, like I don't even know what this is called, but it's like a C shape, but without the pointer finger. I don't know. Sometimes I just don't know what it is. Anyway, but it just sounds like really nice and peaceful. Anyway, so this song is called Sunflower. Sunflowers bloom in June. It's too late for this news. My pillows smell like you. If you leave, what do I do? What do I do? You tell me all is right. Then we stay up past the night as the sun christens the day. I run out of things to say. Sunflowers bloom in June. I think that I should leave, but roll up on my sleeves. Don't cry, I won't be long. There's a reason for this song. Sunflowers bloom in June. It's too late for this news. My pillows smell like you. If you leave, what do I do? I love you. I love you. Sunflowers blooming. All right.
I mean, awesome job, man. I mean, listen, it's like I hear songs on here from my interviews all the time, but it's not often that I get the chills just from vocal performances and stuff like that. It's just your vocals are just undeniable, man. And I mean, you're just such a talented artist. And but like I said before, I've said it 100 times, but I'm a huge fan of you, man.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's a little rough this morning, man. I'm sorry. I got the freaking
Nah, you are good.
Whatever new COVID's going around, my throat's dying right now.
Nah, you are good. I appreciate you battling through and doing that for us today. And it's been a blast having you on to talk about your story through music, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. I really, really appreciate it.
No, of course. Just kind of before I do my little outro here and everything, is where can we find you on social medias?
Yeah, so I post 98% of my videos on TikTok, so it's at walter.bjr, walter.bjr. And then same on Instagram, just with a one at the end. So Walter.pjr1 on Instagram. And then and then I'll post stuff on TikTok, post it on my story on Instagram. It's pretty much my role right now. So
No,
yeah.
awesome. I mean, people definitely go check him out. He is super, super talented. Got a lot of cool covers out there. He's got a lot of cool originals. And again, man, I just can't wait to see what else is coming for you.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, of course. So that kind of concludes another episode of the Spotlight series hosted by yours truly, ACK. Y'all know the drill at this point is Sundays, 1 p.m. Eastern. We got new artists, new music, and you never know who's going to be on here. And appreciate y'all tuning in today, and stay tuned for next week.